Hola Madridistas and Liverpool fans. Welcome to the preview for our upcoming UCL group stage matchup. With Liverpool looking for revenge yet again this season. It's going to be a firecracker, especially since all eyes will be on Ancelotti and their men as well to get through this injury crisis unscathed and secure a spot in the knockouts. Liverpool are flying high. They've won pretty much all of their games in the UCL. So it's going to be a hard game. And to break all of this down and more, I'm joined today by a very special guest, Drifty from Kopish, and he's been known for his work at DR Sports as well. And of course, I'm joined by the bread and butter of the channel, Sahil and Farooq. But before we get started, this episode is actually powered by the Talksport Fan Network, who are the biggest radio station powered by the fans for the fans. And this episode is sponsored by Manscaped, the pioneers in male grooming, who have a bunch of offers out there for Black Friday especially, and you can get up to 25% off instead of the usual 20% off if you use our code LBR20. So head on over to manscaped.com and enter the code LBR20 for 25% off, and you get free shipping as well. With that out of the way, let's kick things off, Drifty. You almost don't need an introduction. We're all huge fans of your work from Kopish, especially, you're known for your blunt and kind of honest opinions. Is that a fair assumption to make for any new listeners who are actually tuning in?
Yeah, big up, obviously, pleasure to be here, guys. Yeah, people call it blunt. I just call it honesty. I just say it how it is. I don't really, I don't really pull punches. If it needs to be said, then you got to say it, whether it's against your team or for your team, So, yeah, I'm starting to get a control of my emotions, though. I'm not as angry as I used to be. I used to get really angry. I try not to let it bother me as much now, Getting too old for this.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have a lot of things to be angry about this season, at least.
Yeah. This season's so far so good, PTSD kicks in when you're a Liverpool fan. You don't get happy until the end, So you try and enjoy it as much as you can. But no, it's going well at the moment, man.
Absolutely. How about you guys? Sahil, how are you doing? Are you excited for the matchup? Do you think the revenge is finally on this season?
I mean, excited as I am, but yeah, Real Madrid, the things uh, describe themselves. Our UCL form, 2 losses in the past three. Our La Liga form, we just lost the Clasico before the international break. Although we have won a couple games on the other side of that, I don't feel all of that confidence that I used to. And I know that Real Madrid always bring it on when the big games come about, but yeah, and this should be no exception, except that our injury crisis and the way the first three months of this season have gone by just doesn't give us much to be confident about, because even the patterns we've been seeing within the games, regardless of the scoreline, regardless of the result, it's just a mess at the moment. You talk about the faltering attack, the constant changes in formation, our defense, which has an incredible amount of injuries. So yeah, there's little to be confident about, but excited as ever.
Absolutely. And Farooq, we haven't heard from you in 2 weeks. First of all, how are you? Like, how are you finding life? And Real Madrid, are you satisfied and happy with the level of play? I mean, we're winning 3-0.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're alive for now, so we can complain about that, about how we're finding Real Madrid, man. I think I don't need to give you an answer for that. Anyone who's been listening knows what I feel and how I feel about it. Like it's been shambolic, honestly. But yeah, what can we do? Like we still look at things, and that on the bright side, everything still looks nice. Because we look at the table, and all of a sudden Barcelona dropping points, and we win all our games in hand, and all of a sudden it doesn't look like anything is lost yet. Like it seems like we got in total control of our destiny eventually. The UCL doesn't look too good, but this is Real Madrid, man. Like I mean, we'd lose at Lille in France, and struggle against Borussia Dortmund, but we'd go to Anfield, and then we could, go there and deliver a hammer, and I wouldn't be surprised about that, even with the injury list that Sahel was pointing to, because this is the bread and butter we have, like if anything, it's such a competition where we should thrive the most, and it's great because you could see now Jude is, regaining that confidence. You can see Kylian Mbappe starting to also, get that confidence as well. So, yeah, it's not been good, but the future looks definitely very bright.
Yeah. And Drifty, so this must be one season where you're feeling like Madrid can be got at. It feels like a matchup that's maybe skewed towards Liverpool to win it. Do you actually feel confident this time around?
I felt confident plenty other times, to be honest with you. When we went into a lot of our games, I felt like, yeah, we can win this game, especially when we played you lot in the final in 22. I think we're the better team all season, and Courtois just decided to have the best game of his life. That's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. So I definitely do go into the game with confidence, generally speaking. But Real Madrid are Real Madrid, you always know, even if you're better than them, they can pull off a win. And that's one of the reasons why I'll probably feel the same way now. We've actually got Real Madrid and Man City within 4 days of each other, both teams weak at the moment. And everyone just thinks, oh, we're just going to win both games because of that. But that's not how football works. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes a wounded animal is worse because you might try something different and it works, to get out of the situation you're in. So that could happen in both games. The one thing I will say, which is funny, is this might be the first time ever playing Real Madrid, and it doesn't matter, theoretically, to us, which is weird. Normally, do you know what I mean? It would be in the knockout stages, and of course it will be something. But right now, I'm looking at it and thinking, we're 4-4, top of the group. After this, with all due respect, we have lesser opposition. This is our last difficult game, difficult game in the Champions League. So you would like to hope we'd get another win or two, even if we lost this one, to still qualify quite easily in the Champions League. Not to take it for granted, but in the league, the game against Man City means everything.
Yeah.
So there's an argument to say we don't need to care about this game as much, which is weird because Real Madrid, you want to beat Real Madrid. We hate you guys. The level you've taken away all the joy from us for the last 3 or 4. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, we've only gone out of the Champions League to Real Madrid for 3 or 4 years now. You beat us in the final. You beat us in the last round of 16, which was when Vinicius Junior became Vinicius Junior. I don't know if you lot remember that game.
Yep.
You lot weren't really happy with him. Then he beat us up, and then he went on to be the best player in the world. And then the season before last, it was the quarterfinals, I think, again, and you knocked us out. So literally, every time we've gone out the Champions League, it's been you lot. So we hate you more than anything. But do we rest players for this game? I don't know. This might be the first time I'm not nervous to play Real Madrid. Put it like that. It'd be the first time I'm not nervous because I feel like,
I mean,
which might sound weird.
Yeah, even if Real Madrid win, you have nothing to lose. And I wouldn't be surprised either if you are able to take a few players off in the second half and don't even care.
But also, this game does come in a different context for both teams, doesn't it? Because in the past, it's been either a KG final or a two-legged tie where one game goes absolutely end-to-end, and then the other game is full with one team attacking and the other team defending. So it's a one-off game, but it's not a final, and it's a group stage game, but it's not a two-legged affair. So I think the dynamics of this game will be very different to what we've seen in the past with Real Madrid and Liverpool in the Champions League. I do think it will be end-to-end. Yeah.
Yeah, man, and something that is different this time around is there's no Jurgen Klopp anymore. And Farouk, you've always been a big fan of him, right? You've always said we need a system like that in order to play beautiful or eye-catchy football. How do you think Arne Slot has he actually changed a lot of stuff in this game, or what's your take on this? How is he managing to blow away all these records?
I mean, yeah, the Slot actually has superseded what I expected to happen this season, honestly. And one thing I would say, the major thing I think, if maybe or not, I might be right or wrong, but one thing I have noticed is the fact that he has removed the chaos from the play of Liverpool. Actually, Klopp's football was total chaos. It's basically to borrow the words of the assistant coach. It was controlled chaos. Right now, what they have more is more solidity with double pivot of Gravenberch and McAllister. So right now, I think that double pivot that Slot has introduced is at least I think is the major difference. Asking the fullbacks to maintain the traditional role of fullbacks rather than looking to invert into the middle of the park and stuff like that. And of course, like Mo Salah being Mo Salah as well. That's the thing that's been for Liverpool this season. Like as I said, like Slot. Of course, like we have to consider the fact that Arsenal has not been firing on all cylinders. City are depleted with injuries as well. But even with all that, you still have to just give credit to him. Like, he's totally, there is no better way. Like, you can't ask for more as a Liverpool fan, when you're like succeeding literally a man who is larger than life, basically a godlike figure for Liverpool, what Slot has done in the first, I think, 3-4 months has been nothing short of phenomenal, honestly.
Do you agree with most of that, Drifty?
Yeah. Most of us were happy when we got him because we did our homework and we actually looked into him. And once you do your due diligence, you realize how good of a manager he is. But he just wasn't well renowned and known around the world. So we were quite excited about him anyway. But yeah, he's done a brilliant job. He's really done a brilliant job. He's a lot of people outside Liverpool won't really know this, but when Shankly took everything that he put into the club to give us the family who we are now, when he left, Paisley took over, and obviously people were worried that there could be that drop off. And Paisley actually went on to become Liverpool's most successful manager, in my opinion. I think he's our greatest ever manager. I mean, look at what he achieved, and that was off the back of what Shankly had built. And that is why we're kind of hoping that maybe Slot in a modern era can do what Klopp was with Shankly and gave us back our spirit and gave us an identity again. And then Slot can be the Paisley and then can take that and go and then use it and win all of the things off the back of that. And at the moment, it looked like it could be the case. Obviously, long way to go. But yeah, Slot's just, he's continued what Klopp did, changed 20, 30% here or there to what he wants. Perfect blend, and it's working at the moment, man.
Absolutely. And what do you think about the style of play or the entertainment factor? Because coming from neutral perspective, like Klopp's games are always fun. You have to tune in. That's like the pinnacle of football and excitement that you can get. Do you get the same feeling from watching an Arne Slot game?
Not the way we did with Jurgen. No, he like you said, his brand of football was just constant entertainment. But it did leave you on edge a lot. In the latter years when the squad wasn't quite good. When we were doing it in our heyday and we had our best squad, it was easy because everybody was just at their peak and you couldn't really touch us. We had to have a bad day to lose a game. Whereas in recent times under Klopp, the new players didn't quite get what he needed the way the old players did. And then that's where little kinks in the armor started. That's where we started to fall off a little bit. And then even in a game we would be winning, you still be on edge because you know that it could flip on his head because of the chaos. Whereas now Slot, for the most part, has kind of introduced a calmness where you don't feel like that now in the last 10, 15 minutes of games. You do feel, I mean, the Southampton game I did, but generally this season, there's been a calmness and normally we're maybe 2 goals ahead and we can relax and whatnot. So it's nowhere near as entertaining, but it might be better on the heart,
Definitely.
So what you're saying, Drifty, is that, I mean, the major questions around Slot so far this season has been, 10 Premier League wins in the past 12 games, all of that, perfect record in the Champions League. Some people tend to think that, okay, it might be a complete tactical revolution and just a renewed, burst of energy. And some people just are more of the opinion that this will wear off and that he has just taken over in incredibly competitive side, added a few signings to it, and because of the place where Klopp, left Liverpool in, it has done more to credit what Slot has continued on. So do you think both of those things can be true and regardless in exclusivity?
I get why people are thinking that.
From
Maybe
the
more.
outside.
Maybe the rivals are more hoping in regards to like we'll fall off. But you could flip it the other way and you could look at it because that could be true. I mean, a new manager bounce would be disrespectful to Slot, I think, because a third of the season can't just be new manager bounce. New manager bounce is normally 4, 5, 6 games to stop a relegation or something like that, right? If you go a third of the season, can it be a new manager bounce? I think that's when you're taking credit then away from the coach's achievement. But it could go the other way in terms of people thinking, it will fall off. What if it's just incredible he's been able to implement his style that quickly, and then once we get used to it, we get better? What's to say we'll get worse? If you go and look at anyone around the world, generally speaking, they don't normally do an Ancelotti at Real Madrid where they just come in and they're just good straight away and they win. Normally, it'll be more of an Arteta type situation at Arsenal, where it takes a few years to actually get good because you need time to get your ideas across, get all your players in, etc., etc. And then you look at the trajectory, and then that normally means that you get better over time. So what's to say Liverpool won't get better? You know, I'm not saying they will, but who's to say we won't? We can see little things that are happening. We're like, maybe they won't be doing that in a year's time when we've been playing this the way Slot wants, more when we're getting used to the training and that kind of thing. So it could go both ways. It could. I'm hoping, obviously, it doesn't go in a negative way, but it could go either way. But I think what Slot has done is remarkable, because we haven't missed Jurgen. That is the biggest compliment that I can give to him. That I thought at this stage I'd be like still down in the dumps and stuff like that, but he's been that good that we haven't missed Jurgen, which is
and the evidence is what we've seen so far. Yeah, that makes sense.
Definitely.
Even from an outsider's perspective.
Yeah, he shocked a lot of people. I know there's a lot of Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United, Man City, Tottenham, all those teams. I know their fans are thinking, okay, wow, we thought we was going to get a laugh this year, but, you know, obviously we underestimated him. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And Farouk, like one thing when it especially comes to this Real Madrid Liverpool matchup is that in previous years we always lick our lips. You know, the fullbacks are always marauding. We always look at Trent Alexander-Arnold's side and then notice, hey, Vinicius can actually do this, and then we can actually get away with a win. That's how we've always viewed these games. But this time around, you know, these fullbacks aren't marauding always. They have a proper system. They're actually acting like normal fullbacks. So do you think it's going to be a much harder game this time around?
Actually, quite interestingly, I'd say this now. You know, you mentioned the name Trent Alexander-Arnold. You know, like normally he's always the player you target defensively. Right now, with the news that Costa Simicas is out and the form that Robertson is in, I think actually Robertson will be the defender to target right now. He's totally out of sorts. If you've seen the past couple of games that he's played, actually, you know, a game against Bukayo Saka comes to mind as well. You know, in the Premier League. You know, so I think, while it's no longer the football of the past and all that, I think Trent actually has become more defensively stout this year, especially with the extra cover he has in the middle of the park. But I do think, you know, there is a player that's out there to be exploited in Robertson. He's getting older. He doesn't have the miles in. He has a lot of miles in his leg. He doesn't have that pace anymore. I think, you know, with the movements of a player like Kylian Mbappe, you know, that might be a position that, you know, you might want to exploit and see what it can be. But yeah, I mean, Trent remains a phenomenal player, and hopefully, you know, we don't know what the future tells, but hopefully one day he puts on the white jersey of Real Madrid. You know, it will be something, you know, that I look forward to, you know, really, really greatly. But I do think in this game there is still, you know, spaces to exploit still in that backline, honestly. And one thing we've seen as well is that, you know, like Liverpool as well has shown a bit of vulnerability when they've played these top sides. You know, like we saw the game against Arsenal, how, you know, the wingers were able to stretch the defense and, you know, create stuff out of nothing. So I think we can also, you know, exploit that ability. But then, of course, you're going to Anfield, so it's never easy. But I mean, I do think, you know, the fullbacks will have a role to play, but I do think our attackers will be able to exploit that.
Interesting, man. Drifty, do you agree?
Trent's injured, by the way, so he won't be playing in this game.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What about Alisson?
Bradley. No, Alisson won't play in this game either. No, all of our injured players won't play part. I don't think.
No, but didn't all of them join into full training?
Yeah, they did, but because they've been out for such a long time, like Elliot has been out all season, Alisson's been out for 2 months. Trent is out. He's not even back in training. Chiesa's been out for a month. I think we'll take our time with our injured players coming back in. I'll be very, very shocked if any of them take part in this game. Really.
Does Slot you know, trust the depth that Liverpool have in their ranks?
So far, yeah. I think he's pretty much using the majority of the players. There might be a few positions that he hasn't rotated yet. like the midfield,
For good
for
reason, yeah.
example. But he's trying to gain a chemistry, and obviously with him being new, he needs to try and make sure that he gets as much momentum as possible. But generally speaking, I do think he's rotating well. He's using substitutions well. He's resting players. He's bringing players like Trent and Salah off in some games where we'd never see that happen before.
Interesting.
And he's doing it to preserve energy. So he's doing, I think he does. I think he does. A lot of people looked at our transfer window, including myself at the time, and were really disappointed that we didn't buy anyone. And Zubimendi was the only one we tried to buy. He stayed, and then that was it. You know what I mean? We didn't go and get anyone. But when I look back at it in hindsight now, we're further the way into the season, I kind of believe that what Slot did was on purpose. And I see why. He wanted to make sure he knew who wasn't good enough before he got rid of them without making a rash decision, because there's some people in the squad now I think have impressed him a lot and they've gained his respect, and maybe now he doesn't feel he needs to buy anybody else, which is a good thing for the player who stayed and proved himself, like Curtis Jones, for example. He's having a brilliant season. Maybe he might have been somebody Slot might have moved on, but now he's realised, no, he's a great player, I'm going to keep him. So I respect what Slot did, even though it was frustrating in the summer, and now I get it. But we need to keep buying from this moment on to keep the momentum up, and that will be where we'll see who we truly trust and who we didn't really want. Like Endo, for example, maybe he'll go. He might be somebody that maybe he doesn't trust because he barely ever gets any minutes. But I think that's more down to the way he plays in terms of style. Not because he thinks he's a bad player, but he's not press resistant. So playing in our midfield is difficult for him. Do you know what I mean? Just little things like that. But on the whole, I'll say he trusts about 90% of the players. Yeah.
Makes sense. And with this fixture schedule and with the workload piling up week after week, and like almost twice, thrice a week, I think it's pretty well documented how many games there are in the football calendar. You pretty much have to rotate. Even Ancelotti, a coach who is not well renowned to trust his bench, to trust his academy players, is rotating the season because he's being forced to do that. So I think we're seeing the after effect of that schedule pretty much everywhere, and Real Madrid is no exception to that.
I said,
Can I ask
Drifty, like
you
just
lot a question though, because you lot have got
sorry.
a lot of injuries at the moment.
That
Like,
is true.
A lot of injuries.
That is true.
How are you even coping at the moment?
I mean, one of our centre backs is an academy graduate. 5 or 6 from the academy are training with the team, but are not really playing first team minutes. So at right back, we're currently playing Fede Valverde because Carvalho's out, Vasquez is out.
Yeah.
So that's Valverde and this new guy called Raul Asensio. The rest of it, I think our midfield depth is pretty adept. Vinicius and Rodrigo are out, but we have guys like Brahim and Arda Güler who can, put in a shift. So the defense is really the big issue because Rudiger is pretty much by himself taking over and being responsible for much of what goes down there. Much like Virgil van Dijk when Konate is not having a good day, when Robertson's being caught out on the counter-attack. But still a pretty bad situation to be in because missing that many defenders is never going to, put any sort of confidence in the fans. And that is the situation, unfortunately, we are in. But it is what it is. We have to play with... I think Mendy is the only one who's pretty much well-suited to this sort of game because going the other way and defending against Salah is something that he has done before. And Rudiger, I think, while he's playing on the other side of the centre-back pairing, he's still pretty much our best defender. But apart from that, I think we're bound to concede against Liverpool at Anfield. It's just about then how do we go back and score on the other end of the pitch.
Okay, yeah. Because from the outside looking in, it seems like every other week you're not getting a big bad injury now, which is it's never really ever happened to you lot before. So
it has, but we always find a way around it.
Well, yeah, maybe. Obviously, you lot know more than me, but from whenever we've played you, you've always had a full team. Maybe one injury, but I've never gone up against Real Madrid and you've had like one of your big players missing. They always see, especially like Vinicius Jr., for example.
Yeah, true.
He's always, this is the only time he's never been fit. In all these years we've played you, this will be the first time he's not fit. So it's from the outside looking in, it seems like you that just keep getting 1 week after the other, you get another injury.
It's
So,
just that some players are better and more versatile at playing out of position. Guys like Tchouaméni, Valverde, these guys. I'm pretty sure there are players like that at Liverpool as well who have more than happy to fill in when a player goes out.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and speaking about, we two are like super familiar with, we have kept our core group of players the same over these last couple of years at least. And we know each other, right? But Luis Diaz and Nunez, have they actually improved as players? When they faced off against us, like we weren't really worried about them. Have they gotten to be much better?
Yeah. Especially Diaz. I think if you look at the trajectory of where we're at right now, Diaz has played a major part in it, and I think Nunez is adapting to what he wants now. And the one thing that's a bit strange about the way Slot is playing is our front player gets involved but doesn't really get many chances. And it must be by design at this point. It can't be just every game happens to go the same way by accident. And Nunez is almost becoming like not a distraction, a deliberate distraction, but I think what he's been told to do is to cause chaos amongst the defenders, and then the wingers get the goals. That's how it feels at the moment anyway, because we're not really creating many chances for, even when Jota was playing, it was the same. But Jota would disarm the defenders and make the runs and get physically involved, and then Diaz and Mo get the goals from the wing. So I think it's by design why Nunez isn't getting as many chances, and Diaz has massively improved. But he was always good, to be honest with you. I think the problem was he got that really bad injury that kept him out for a year, that disturbed his whole form. Then his parents had that horrible situation happen. And I just think he had 2 years where he was just very unsettled. But the first 6 months when we bought him in January, and the first 4 or 5 months of this season now, that is the real Diaz. The bit in the middle was just a lot of horrible, unfortunate circumstances, which any human can suffer from. So maybe when you were playing against us with him, it was more when he was in his bad patch rather so than, I mean, actually, when we played you in the final, he was in really good form going into that final. But I think he was exhausted at that point.
And also Carvajal that day was pretty good.
Yeah. The pace of the Premier League, I think, caught up with him a little bit. It takes you by surprise. I think he was just knackered at the end of that season, because he did have a great 6 months with us leading up to that. But yeah, you should be worried about him now. That's for sure.
Let's see. I mean, from all of this conversation, it seems like, this is a team that cannot be broken into. But is that really the case? I mean, you guys did not have the most convincing of games against Southampton. It almost felt like the midfield is kind of easy to bypass. Is that going to be the case tomorrow as well?
The midfield was easy to bypass on Sunday, against Southampton, because I think we were a little bit... It seems like an excuse, but whenever we come back from international break, we always seem to have this weird kind of like sluggishness within the team. Same thing happened when we lost to Nottingham Forest, which is our only defeat this season. It was the first game back after an international break, and we kind of had a sluggishness about us. Our passing wasn't quite good. Our legs looked a little heavy, and it felt like that against Southampton a little bit. We haven't really been ran through in the midfield apart from that game. But what we are noticing is that we're getting counter-attacked on quite a bit. And I know Real Madrid like to counter-attack. I don't know what it'll be like without Vinicius in terms of the counter-attack, because he's normally a major part of that. But I know you do like counter-attacking, so that's what we will have to worry about. Is it's more been counter-attacks than running through the midfield. For some reason, we've just been caught in a counter-attack a couple of times this season. Nottingham Forest, that's how we lost the game against Forest. counter attack, bang, they scored out of nowhere. We're losing. We're like, how the hell is this happening? And Real Madrid, I'm very aware that that is one of your key strengths to do that. So that's
Bro,
why I think you pose the danger to us more so than through the midfield.
also our counter-attacking tendencies as of late particularly have been, put to a hold because of the particular offside issue. Do you see that as something Liverpool, the backline might deploy against the likes of Mbappe and potentially others?
Yeah, because we do that every week.
Right.
Every week, yeah, we
Highline.
play offside. Not as much as we did under Jurgen, but we do play the offside. Hopefully, everybody can get up because Robertson's not having the best of time at the moment. So it's a little risky. It is a little risky. Do you know
I think
what I mean?
Konate has an error in him too, occasionally.
No, not really. Yes and no. Like maybe a year or two ago, I think now he's grown out of that a bit.
Okay.
I don't want to jinx it, but I think he's grown out of that a little bit. Southampton was his worst game all season, and he wasn't even terrible, but he was making the odd mistake in that game. But again, I think it was maybe the international break just coming back. He had a big week. He was captain as well for his country, which is a proud moment for him. So maybe it's just a little bit emotionally, physically exhausted, maybe. Well, I wasn't fully switched on for Southampton, but generally speaking, he's been flawless this season for us. So I'll say more Robertson. Robertson's the one who's kept players on side by not being able to get up with the line, maybe being a little bit extra worried because he is losing his pace. Like the Saka goal against Arsenal, even though it was him who got done, it was also him who played him on. If he'd have just pushed up, then he would have been offside and it wouldn't even have been a problem anyway. But he's so worried about the lack of pace that he's got now that he's dropping off. And that could be maybe where you could exploit us in that regard. And he has to play because Philippus is injured as well. That's the problem at the moment. Unless we play Joe Gomez at left back, which I think would be a good idea because Joe Gomez is really good at left back.
Okay.
And then it'll stop Hendrick or whoever plays from being able to cut in and have a shot. So
Probably Brahim.
Yeah. So I'd probably go with that. I wouldn't even play Robertson if it was up to me, but I think Slot will play him. So yeah, that's probably where we're more worried about defensively than anything.
Speaking of that, what would your ideal 11 be for tomorrow?
Yeah, man, let's
quickly.
let's actually get into it after the ad break. I'm just going to read a comment from Sunaid before that. Cool. So Sunaid warns us, Liverpool's transitions are so much better than ours. They play back to front at breakneck speed. Is that true? Are you really good at counter-attacking unit?
Yeah. Our transitional play is getting better and better, I think. We were keeping hold of possession without pushing forward a lot more at the beginning and being a lot more controlled. But as the games have gone on, I think Slot's given a little bit more license to be a bit quicker in the transition now to get that counter-attack going. So we kind of mix it up well. I think that's one thing I've been really impressed with Slot as well is in-game, he's willing to change things at any moment during the game if he sees what's happening from the opposition. And generally speaking, it's helped every time to adapt to whatever the other team's been doing, which is how we've managed to only lose one game. And that game was just a counter-attack. It wasn't even anything to do with the way that can happen in any moment, especially because they've got really fast wingers, Nottingham Forest, and they just counter-attacked us with pace. But generally speaking, he's adapted very well during game to understanding what's happening and in doing what he needs to do to counteract it. And the transitional play has been a part of that, case in point. So yeah, I'm really happy with the way we're transitioning. Look at the Arsenal game, for example, that quick transition for our equalising goal at 2-2. Even Van Dijk was part of it. Saw the space, ran out, ball over the top. Do you know what I mean? Perfect. So yeah, we are good in the transition, generally speaking. Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm worried. Like that has been one of our weak points this season. Like usually for last season, we were really good at covering transitions. This year, not so much. But yeah, we can talk about the lineups and the key matchups right after the break. Dors is gonna talk about the Christmas edition for Manscaped. So yeah, we'll be back, folks.
Hola Vaguedistas, I'm back once again to remind you that if you want to help and support this project of ours, this channel, you can do so by going to manscaped.com, using our code LBR20 to get 20% off and free shipping worldwide. That's our code LBR20 to get 20% off and free shipping. You help us out and you get a cool product. This time I'm here to introduce you guys to the Chairman Pro. It is a trimmer that features two interchangeable blade heads, one called the blade foil, which is to get that super smooth baby skin, and the other one is called the stubble trimmer, for if you want to still have that little bit of stubble but look a bit cleaner and fresher. You can do both with the same trimmer. It also features flex adjust technology. It adjusts it to your face, how you shave. You can also lock it for a full precision. Best thing is waterproof. You can shave yourself in the shower if you want to. It's completely waterproof. It features 75 hours of battery life, so if you're going on some kind of travel, you can charge it beforehand and it will still have enough battery for the trip. Also, if you're going on a trip, you can lock it so that it doesn't turn on as you go. It has an LED. It's a great thing, and especially now that Christmas is coming up, if you want to send it as a gift to your boyfriend, or if you're a man, get it for yourself or your brother, dad. It's a great gift for any man, and this bad boy can even get up to like 5 days of beard, so you don't even need to trim it down before you can fully shave it. This does it for you. So yeah, get this at manscaped.com. use our code LBR20 to get 20% off and free shipping. That's code LBR20 to get 20% off and free shipping. Thank you for watching, and back to the video.
Yeah, we're back. We were just talking about Chiesa, and for a lot of fans, especially from the Euros, you just remember that goal against Spain, and that's just the kind of player that you expect. So he hasn't yet had time to, hit the ground running at Liverpool yet, right? But do you think Slot will actually trust him later on in the season?
I hope so. He was always coming in to be a rotationary player, in my opinion. We took the opportunity at such a cut price. I think he's a brilliant player. Always, obviously, a bit worried with his injuries in terms of he hasn't ever been the same since that bad knee injury. But last season, he still played well enough to show he's getting back to form at the Euros. I thought he was decent, as you said. I hope it works out, man. I hope it works out. But he's just trying to recover from injury and settle into England now. I don't think he'll be on a bench for the Real Madrid game, but he is back in training, thankfully. So I think we'll see the best of Chiesa next year. And not as in like next season, sorry. I think this season was just about grab the opportunity, bring him in. He's still young as well. He's only 26, so it's not like he's old or whatever. He's got a bit of time. And I think next season, once he's properly settled, is when you'll probably see the best of him. He'll just play every now and again this season, I think, and then next year will be where you'll see more of him.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hopefully, yeah. Even Sunit says in the comments. He says Chiesa is one of my favorite players to watch.
You were saying?
Yeah, Farouk, you were saying?
Yeah. Speaking of next year, Drifty, actually, you were talking about Chiesa and next year and all that. Do you think Chiesa is going to be there next year, considering the situation with Mo Salah and all that? Because, now if Mo Salah doesn't renew the contract, or if he renews the contract, that also means a lot of, commitment towards Mo Salah as well. And Chiesa also is not a light player, so is he going to be the sacrificial lamb to be able to balance the books with all the PSL rules and regulations in the Premier League or something like that? Because for me, I kind of feel like Chiesa it was an opportunity for Liverpool to buy low and sell high, similar to what happened with Zidane and Shaqiri. But then, of course, you guys got a lot of value back from Zidane and Shaqiri. I don't know. Do you think Chiesa eventually might be the sacrificial lamb for the new bumper contract that's going to be given to Mohamed Salah?
Nah, I don't think so, because he's on a really low wage as well. If I'm not mistaken, Chiesa only earns like 100, 110 a week, which for us is at the lower end. So I don't think they'd be that worried. Maybe they would sell him if the right opportunity came up, maybe, but I don't think he'll go. And the thing is, nobody wanted to buy him this summer because they were worried about his injuries, right? So if he has a year at Liverpool where he's injured a lot, which so far he has been, I don't even think anybody would take the chance and buy him, because we'd want more than than he was going for initially. Remember, he only had 1 year left on his contract, which is why we got him for cheap. So if we were going to sell him, we would probably want 40 mil for him, say, or 50 mil. But no one's going to pay that if they wouldn't even pay 13 mil because they're worried about his injuries. Do you know what I mean? So I think the only way we'd look to sell him is if he plays really well, and then we can get actual market value. So I think he'll be here next year, yeah.
But what's your overall view then, like away from that, with the whole contractor situations you have with the three captains in the team, Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk versus Trent? What do you think? Do you think all three stays, or do you think one of them leaves?
I think all three of them stay. I do, even though that might seem a bit unrealistic the way things are going at the moment. It's really getting on my nerves. Like badly getting on my nerves. I don't know why we don't just get this sorted out, but I've got a feeling it's probably something to do with length of contract more than money. I've got a feeling that Virgil and Mo both want 3-year deals, and the club only want to give them 2-year deals. I think that's what the hold-up is. I don't think it's money. I haven't heard anything about money. Just length of contract based on their age. Hopefully the club just sees sense and just give both, because they're both the best players. I don't know, maybe you lot disagree, but from where we're sitting, they're the two best players in their position in the world. Why would you risk losing them, even if it was for wages? Do you know what I mean? Like, we look at Rudiger. Look how what is he, 33? He's still performing at the high level. Look at Modric. Modric is what, 37?
39.
He's still performing at a high level. Cruz retired at 35. Look how well he was performing. Benzema, before he left you guys, he won the Ballon d'Or. He was 34. Like, people are too obsessed with thinking that when you get to 30, you're going to be going downhill rapidly. And I think that's what the club are worried about when it comes to offering the contract, which is annoying as a fan, because who cares if they're not great in the last year of that third year? They still give you 2 more years of greatness, and they deserve it off of all the blood and sweat that they've given us for the last 5, 6, 7 years. So they better just get it done. There's going to be a riot if they don't, especially with Mo. If they let Mo go, oh man, it's going to get real techie. So yeah.
And it's such a silly reason to actually put off the contract. 2 years versus 3 years, that's nothing.
Yeah, but all we do is think money. See, you lot are lucky at Real Madrid that your club don't think about money all the time. Liverpool, everything's about money. Everything is about what makes sense financially, how you make profit. FSG run us as a business to make profit when everyone knows there's no profit in football. There isn't. It's just you get more money than you had last time, but then it goes back in and it goes in a roundabout. We all know this. This is the life of football. It's not meant to be about profit, but our owners only care about profit. So, which is another reason why it's like, so where are you going to get the money from to replace these guys then? Because if they leave for free, you've got to spend money, right?
Yeah.
Most contract is going to cost 30 million apparently in wages across 3 years if he stayed for 3 years. Can you replace Mo Salah for 30 million?
Nope.
No. Plus, the new player's going to be getting wages, which will probably still be about 100 grand a week anyway. So it's going to cost you 50, 60, 70 mil to replace Salah minimum. Just give him the money. It's annoying. It's so annoying. But
makes no sense.
Am I getting the sense that Drifty, actually, I was going to ask you the question that which two would you choose out of the three, considering the fact that you actually didn't give Trent any airtime? I'm assuming that you're automatically like, yeah, if Trent leaves, he leaves.
No, Trent will be the one that will annoy me the most out of the three, because he's a Scouser. He's supposed to have more loyalty to Liverpool. He's the youngest, so he does have the biggest future in terms of that. So no, I'll definitely be annoyed if Trent goes massively. But I'm not gonna lie and say he's as important currently as the other two, because Virgil and Mo they're the cornerstone of Liverpool. And Alisson, those three are the ones where if you win the big trophies, those three are the ones who are the major key component. Everyone plays their part. Trent is a brilliant footballer, of course he is. But the way we play under Slot, he's not as important going forward, ironically. When we played under Klopp, as you lot know, he was the best fullback in the world. Everything about his game was just so amazing. Now he's been asked to play way better defensively, which he's doing, but he's way less important going forward now. So it's balanced itself out a bit in that regard. So yeah, I don't think he's as important to us as he was under Klopp. Not to say he's not important, but he was more important in the Klopp system than he is in the slot system. And that's why I think Virgil and Mo have to be the ones who get done. If there's one player who's going to go, Trent might be the one that I will sacrifice, but I will still be absolutely peed off to the nines that he left.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, one last subject to talk about. You mentioned Allison, and one thing actually, with the whole signature of Mama Sheffield of Valencia, actually, he's gonna come in the summer if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
When do you think Liverpool cut their ties with Allison? Because the reason why I mentioned this is that Allison actually misses at least, maybe I'm wrong, but misses at least 10 games a season. And when you're as good as Allison and then you take away Allison and you put Kelleher has been good. Don't understand me, but like there is a difference between that, as you rightly mentioned. Like we saw last season with Courtois and Lunin as well at Real Madrid. Lunin was good, but like he's just not God level. And in my opinion, I've always had two keepers that are just above everyone else, and it's Allison and Courtois. I understand. And what Allison brings to the team is absolutely phenomenal, but him missing 10 games every year, like I feel like that's too much for a top professional. I don't like. When do you think it's time you guys cut your ties from or rather cut your losses would be the right word to use here?
I hope never. I hope he retires at Liverpool. I agree with you. I think he's the best in the world. I know you lot will say Courtois, but I think it's Allison, and I don't care if he missed 15 games. I ain't getting rid of him. You get the odd player where it's worth the time you have him. Do you get what I mean? Especially when they perform the way he does. It's the same reason why I don't say so Jota. Jota does get a lot of injuries, but when he's back, and he always contributes when he's back. And I think his contribution is still worth having him around. The club, on the other hand, I think they might cash in on Allison next year. And there is actually an argument they could get rid of him this summer. There's a big argument they could, but if they do, well, I don't even understand what they're doing if they do, personally. And Mamardashvili, he's a top up and coming goalkeeper. I'm really happy with that signing. But Mamardashvili is no Allison. He's no Allison.
True.
At the moment, Mamardashvili can't even claim he's better than Kelleher. Kelleher is a brilliant goalkeeper. Like he's actually a brilliant goalkeeper. And I don't even know if Mamardashvili can claim he's better than Kelleher right now. Do you know what I mean? So I'm super if it was me, I would loan him out again, Mamardashvili. I would actually let him either stay at Valencia or maybe come to the Premier League on loan. And I would keep Kelleher again as backup. And for Allison. I love our goalkeeper situation. I don't think there's any need to change it. But Mamardashvili is one for the future, so it was a brilliant purchase. He signed a 5.5-year deal, I think it was, or a 6-year deal. I think we can loan him out for one more year. Like Chelsea did with Courtois. Do you remember they let Courtois go to Atletico for 2 years? While they had the last year's a pet check, then they brought him in and they got rid of Czech. But he was a Chelsea player for 2 years, but he was on loan in Spain. That's what I would do with Mamardashvili. I'd let him go on loan again for another year. You know what I mean? And then maybe we'll talk again in a year's time, and then we'll see where we're at.
Yeah, it makes sense. Before we go into the lineups, I have a couple of comments here. It's been on Real Madrid fans throughout this fixture as soon as the fixture got announced. So Ashik is in the comments. He says, Salah may get his revenge finally. It may be his last and best opportunity. And Sunaid, on the same note, says, Drifty, do you still hold a grudge against Ramos? Wink, wink.
Yeah, I hate Ramos. And I always will. I know you lot love him because he was you lot's shithouser, but when you're in the opposition side, you just think, I hate this guy. And I believe what he did. I know you lot would disagree, but I believe what he did to Mo was on purpose.
You think it was intentional? Still? Okay.
100%. Yeah. He didn't know he was going to dislocate his arm, but he definitely was inflicting violence to make pain. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't accidental because he was going to do that all game. You could just tell. I watched, how many, is it 37 red cards he got in his whole career or something like that, right? Like, I've watched him for a long time. Like, we know what he's about. So, yeah, I hate Ramos. I'll always hate Ramos.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he didn't have a personal vendetta or he didn't want to injure him, but that's just the type of play that he does. So it wasn't out of the ordinary at all. Yeah, Drifty, do you want to take us through the Liverpool probable lineups?
Yeah. Okay. I think it'll be Kelleher in goal. I think it will be what I would play or what I think Slot will play. Which one do you want? Because they'll both be different. Okay.
I don't know, like, what do you think is going to be the actual lineups? So something that
Oh,
Slot would
the
do?
actual lineup.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the actual line. I think it will be Kelleher in goal, Bradley at right back, Robertson at left back, Ibu and Virgil as a centre back. I think he will go Jones and Gravenberch in the middle of the pivot, Soboslai in the 10, Gakpo on the left, Salah on the right, Nunes up front.
No deal.
No, I think he'll save Diaz for the Man City game.
And also, what would you change?
Me personally, I would rest Gravenberch for this game and play Endo.
Okay, great.
I would rest Ibu for this game and play Kwanzaa, and I would drop Robertson for this game and play Gomez at left back.
You try to make it easier for us.
That would be what I would do. No, because I think there's one or two of our key players that we should be resting for the Man City game.
For the Man City game. Right?
Yeah. As I said before, I care about this game, but this game doesn't mean anything to us in the grander scheme other than pride. This game is about pride for us. All we need is one more win and we're guaranteed the qualification to the next round. And we've got, with all due respect, we've got Girona and Salzburg, I think, of 2 of our last 3 games. And Lille, I think it is. If we can't get one win in those 3 games, then there's a problem, right? So in the grand scheme of things, this game's about pride, not necessity. Whereas for you guys, this game's a necessity. You guys are doing, is it 2 wins, 2 losses, I think you have, right?
Yeah, we're in 18th.
Yeah. So you guys are floating in that, if one more defeat and it could become a bit of an issue kind of situation. And therefore, I think the game means a lot more to you guys than it does to us at this stage. So I would take this time to rotate a few players, you know. Like I wish Chiesa was fit so I could even rest Mo.
Okay.
But you can't lose momentum as well, though, which is important. So you can't change too much, because if you change too much, then it'll basically mean that you could lose a bit of momentum. And then you don't want to go into the weekend's game with poor momentum, or like we got beat 2-0 or something like that, and then it brings the mood down a bit. So you are caught between a rock and a hard place, but I would make a few changes and rotate.
But still, that doesn't change the fact that for us, though the onus is on us to go to Anfield and get away, you know, with a victory.
Yeah.
Liverpool would be pretty much happy with a 0-0 or a 1-1, I think.
Yeah. Great result. 0-0. Everybody's cool. Nobody gets injured, and we move on. Perfect. Perfect. In an ideal world, I want to beat you. But if you ask me right now, would you take a draw and then go and beat Man City at the weekend? I say, where do I sign? Let me
sensible.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I actually like this exercise. So since Farouk, you're the one who knows Ancelotti the closest, I believe. He has a very personal relationship with Ancelotti for whatever reason. But do you want to pick a lineup that Ancelotti would choose for the game?
Yeah, I mean, most likely we're going to have, Courtois and goal. There is nothing to do with that. And I think, again, it's going to be Raul Asensio and, Rudiger. And then I think, considering the fact that we had, Frank Garcia at the weekend, so I think, we're going to see Mendy come back into the starting 11 as well. And then I think Fede continues as a fullback. So there isn't, it's, the point right now is like, it's not like we have a lot of, people to choose from. There's no selection dilemma, for the defensive position. It's in the middle of the park that maybe you might argue that there might be a bit of changes here and there or something like that. Well, I do still expect to see a trio of, Camavinga, Jude, and Luka Modric, eventually. And who's going to be that fourth midfielder? Rather, it's that's the question you ask, because now also we know Vini is out, and then what do you do with Brahim Diaz, Arda Güler, or do you play Endrick alongside Kylian Mbappe? So I think this is where the mental gymnastics starts, So, but I do think we will see Brahim Diaz. So I think we're going to see Brahim Diaz, and we're going to see Kylian Mbappe as well. But the question now becomes who starts, considering that Arda started at the weekend. Like, so does he say, okay, we start Endrick at Anfield, or does he continue the momentum from Arda as well, at Anfield? So this is the question. I personally will choose to go with Arda Güler, and like let's Brahim play with Vinicius, with Mbappe as two forwards, and Arda Güler can play in the middle of the park as an extra midfielder. So this would be what I want to do ideally, but I don't know. Maybe Carlo Ancelotti might want to try something different, with the 4-3-3 with Brahim and Endrick and Kylian Mbappe as well. So that's going to be quite interesting to see. But for me, I would rather have Arda in the middle of the park and having Brahim Diaz partner Vinicius, Kylian Mbappe up top.
Yeah, man. Sahil, do you actually think Arda can actually start? I don't think anyone expects Ancelotti to start 16-year-old Endrick, at the Anfield, right?
So much rather Arda than Endrick, but also if you have an extra midfielder, if Tchouaméni is fit, then much rather Brahim in attack than Arda, because Arda is not a right winger. He's not going to give you the space and overlapping that Brahim probably will with his legs. So I would much rather want to have more men in midfield, because Liverpool are dangerous, right? And you've got to stop their midfield. The likes of Gravenberch and Curtis Jones are pretty solid in that double pivot. So we've got to have good ball retention and a good amount of the ball. We can't just defend our way through this game, because we've got to dominate to a certain extent. And I think that onus is on us, because if Arda is not offering you anything as a right winger or a right midfielder against, say, Robertson, because you need somebody who can run past Robertson and into that channel. So I think Valverde will try and do that, but much rather Arda than Enric. But also, if we have the extra midfielder available, depends on Tchouaméni's availability, that is, then much rather Brahim than Arda. And the rest of the team pretty much writes itself.
Yeah, I didn't hear either of you guys mention Ceballos. Do you think he has no chance of getting a start over Luka Modric?
No, I doubt it.
Yeah,
That would be disrespect to Modric.
Indeed, and we know Ancelotti, man. Like, he just sticks to his starters.
Exactly. At this point, you know him well enough to even question Raul Asensio starting, because if Tchouaméni is fit, then he might slot in at centre back.
That's true.
So
I'll take Arda Güler on loan if you lot don't want him.
okay.
Yeah, I'd love to have him playing in the number 10 for Liverpool. That would be a dream. So if you lot don't want him, then just let him come to Liverpool, man. We'll take care of him.
Is there any other midfielder that you would take apart from Jude Bellingham from this team?
I wouldn't even take Bellingham,
You wouldn't take
It's
Bellingham?
not that I don't think he's a good player. No, he's a good player. Of course, he's a good player, but his style, I don't think would suit the way we play now. We have someone like him in Szoboszlai, who's more just about like pace and power rather than, technical passing and stuff like that. So I wouldn't actually take him. But Arda Güler, yeah, I'll take him in a heartbeat. If you lot don't want him, then we'll
The
take him.
Odegaard comparisons are already on the rise, so I wouldn't be surprised a few years down the line if some Premier League teams come sniffing at him.
Yeah, I think he's got a higher ceiling than Odegaard. I think he'll be a better player than Odegaard overall.
Could be.
Who else would I take? Obviously, everyone would take Vinicius. Like that's obvious.
But also, is he likable to Liverpool fans?
Who, Vinicius?
Yeah.
I would forgive him if
outside.
he became a red. Yeah, if he became a red, we'll forgive him. But he's doing his job when he plays for Real Madrid. We get it. It's nothing personal. You know what I mean? We'll take him in a heartbeat. Rodrigo as well. I know there's murmurs that he might want to move on in the summer. Man City and Liverpool have been linked with him. I take Rodrigo as well. But there'd be hopefully Mo stays, and then we wouldn't need Rodrigo, because Rodrigo's not going to sit on the bench. He doesn't like being on the bench at Real Madrid. Why would he want to be on the bench anywhere else? So if we keep Mo, we probably wouldn't need to buy him, but I'll take him. Rodrigo's a brilliant player.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Superb. I guess we are close to being done with this part, but something we like to do is do predictions. Do you have a prediction, Drifty?
This is a tough one again, like I said, because I don't know what team's going to play. But I'll stick with my boys. Got to go into the game with some confidence. I'll go 2-1. I think Liverpool win 2-1.
Okay, and is it all of the action is going to be in the second half? Are you guys second half FC right now?
We score a lot of our goals in the second half. Maybe. But then again, a European night, Anfield under the lights, maybe the first half might be a bit more like that. You know what I mean? Like set a tempo. Because there's a lot of players in our team that don't like your team, right? So maybe they might have that personal grudge, and maybe they'll just be switched on from the beginning. Who knows? Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'll take a 2-1, but obviously I want Real Madrid to win. How about you, Sahil?
I'd say 2-1 as well, because look, Liverpool, the first 20 minutes are going to be absolutely hell at Anfield. If we can get through that without conceding, I mean, we're definitely going to concede regardless, because of the state our defense is in, and because of how lethal Liverpool are. But if we can get through those first 20 minutes and settle ourselves in, I think we can win. We need Mbappe, Ibrahim, these guys to be, lethal, because we're not going to be given too many chances with a defense of Virgil and Konate. But both defenses are going to, have something to do. It's not going to be a cagey affair for sure.
Absolutely. How about you, Farouk?
Yeah, man, I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw, man. I think I would disagree with the fact that we are expecting a non-KG affair. I think it's absolutely going to be that, because, like, Liverpool are right now totally focused on the game at as you mentioned, against Man City, because, like, right now they're almost guaranteed to go through the round of 16. This is just a game of pride for them. And we're totally depleted right now. There is no Vinicius. There is no Rodrigo. There is literally no fullback. It's just, a mix and match of a team. So I do think we're going to see, a lot of distracted Liverpool and a Real Madrid team that lacks a lot of quality up front. So I do think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. Honestly, it's going to be a game that's going to be a live match.
All right, I'll take that.
Fair enough. That's one way to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take a 1-1 draw. I want to beat you, but I'll take a 1-1 draw as long as we beat City. As long as we beat City, that's all that matters right now.
All right. Before we go, we have a couple more comments from Ashik. So Ashik says, Drifty, how can you not take Ceballos? He's perfect for Liverpool and comes with EPL Premier experience.
I watched him at Arsenal. No.
Gaslighting, yeah.
No thanks. I don't think he's rubbish, but he's not. Yeah, there's a reason why he's been on your bench for 3 years or whatever it is. Yeah, no.
He has these 1 or 2 games a season where he's absolutely brilliant, but then if you play him for a couple of games continuously, like, you just have to, like, substitute him off.
The cracks start to show, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Some players are just better at being substitutes.
Yeah.
That's how it goes, man.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's been a real pleasure having you on, Drifty. And if you are a Liverpool fan and if you're not subscribed to Co-Appreciate, what are you doing? Just go there and subscribe. Check out the awesome content there. And stay tuned for our post-match, as well as we're not going to have fan cams for this game because it's an away game. But yeah, not a lot of home games coming in this season until January at least. So not going to be a lot of fan cams, but still we're going to be posting on our Instagrams and our Twitter. So do follow. All the links are down in the description. And if you're not subscribed yet, do subscribe. It doesn't cost anything and really helps the channel out. So thank you again, Drifty, for being a good sport and sharing our thoughts. And you know what we say? Hala Madrid.
Peace.
Madrid.